Hey, I hope you're well. Welcome back to another episode of Down to the Roots. Today, I'm meeting up with some friends of mine who aren't actually artisans of our business, but some really good friends who are artisans of mate cups and gourds. And we're going to be learning about these types of gourds. So we're going to be looking at how our premium line is made. These ones are made from Calabash fruit, these gourds, and more traditional ones, no? With wrapped in leather, beautiful details on the rim of the gourds. We're going to be following all the steps the artisans go through and why it's so important to buy artisanal products. Welcome to this new episode of Down to the Roots. Hey folks, it's Callum from Anna, and today I'm back finally with another episode number 3 of Down to the Roots. Have you ever wondered about where products come from? Things like, I don't know, your clothes or your food. A lot of times nowadays we're very disconnected and we don't really have to think about these things. When it comes to mate, I feel like it's a interesting industry because on the one hand you've got, something that's really growing worldwide and loads of people are starting to drink mate around the world, but it's still very strongly, for the most part, tied to this artisanal culture in South America. YERBA mate has to be grown in a certain part of the world where, the plant actually comes from. As far as I'm aware of, it's the only place it grows. And the gourds, probably about, the majority of them come from artisans in South America rather than mass-produced things in countries like China. So you got this really cool sort of dynamic where it's still somewhat got that traditional element, but it's very much on a globalized scale. But then I was thinking, there's such a wonderful thing here. Why, I couldn't really see anything, I hadn't really seen anything about, other than from my own experiences being involved in this industry, how things are behind the scenes, let's say, for the people that are really the unsung heroes of this industry, which is like the people who harvest yerba mate or the artisans who make these gourds. And it turns out that a lot of people, they don't really want to put their face on camera, or, they're not really putting themselves out there. Their job is literally just to make these things. It's another person's job to sell them. And for reasons to do with like safety or privacy, they don't want to share their process. They don't want other people to maybe copy them. And so it was really hard when I was trying to put this series together to actually find an artisan or artisans who were willing to sort of share their process with me and talk to me basically and show me around. I even got in contact with some of the people we work with in this business, Anna, and they respectfully said, look, I'm really sorry, but we can't do that, and because we have some very unique products, and they didn't want to sort of give away their secrets, which is totally understandable. And it also, I guess, helps keep it truly artisan, because it means then, people don't just copy what other people are doing, but they're original and they make something creative. Thankfully, I got in contact with a friend of mine, Mate Ali. He's a very big influencer, I suppose, in Argentina, and I asked him if I could go and see his workshop. He got in contact with the artisans because he has a business where he sells gourds and things like that. He invited me down to the workshop, and so I just want to stress that this video is very, in my opinion, unique, because not many people have been able to, document this sort of thing. As far as I'm aware, not really anyone has, especially not in English. So I feel very privileged. It's really the dream of anyone who drinks mate to go and do this kind of thing and be able to make content like this and go and see this sort of thing for themselves with their own two eyes. I got to speak with probably one of the most important people in terms of bringing mate to the world, this style of mate gourds to the world. He's the person who basically created stainless steel gourds, blending tradition and modernity together. Stainless steel ones that they very kindly gifted me one like this, wrapped in leather, as our traditional. This style is from Uruguay, as you see, blending that style but putting a modern twist on it, using the stainless steel so it's easier to clean and you can drink cold mate or tereré from it. It was a really cool thing to go and do. I'm very grateful to have been able to do it. So without further ado, let's go to the workshop.
Thank you very much for inviting me. It's an honor to be here. I feel like I'm living my dreams, so thank you so much.
It's my pleasure.
Could you kind of tell us a bit about the process of, making these mate gourds, the ones made from calabash fruit, also the steel ones, everything you do, that's to say, tell us a bit about yourself as well. Why did you start this? If you're passionate about it, if you like doing it, a little bit of everything and we'll go from there.
Yes, well, look, first things first. I am really passionate about making gourds. And more than anything, reaching the highest possible standard of excellence when it comes to the products I make. I've been doing this since I was approximately 22 or 23 years old. But 4.5 years ago, we began to make Uruguayan style gourds.
Can I ask why you decided to opt to make Uruguayan style gourds despite being Argentinian? Why do you think this kind of gourd became so popular both here and worldwide?
I think that imperial gourds and Uruguayan style camionero gourds exploded in popularity because players like Messi and a few other players in Europe started showing up everywhere with their gourds all over the place, and from there kids were like,
I guess I'm one of those kids.
I want that gourd, the same type that Messi has. That's how the world works. From there, it just took off like it was nothing. And that's why we went from making chiseled iron mat gourds with alamo wood to this style using calabash fruit. I'd just like to mention as well how quickly it was that everything changed for us. It was pretty much an overnight sensation. For those who don't know me, I was a craftsman who sold at the fair in squares on the street. A hippie, And suddenly, one day, I found myself in a lot of debt with a million problems, so to speak. Financial problems here, there, and everywhere. And I was really frustrated. I didn't know what to do. That was right when the Uruguayan style gourd boom happened. But Uruguay did not want to sell to us. Look, they had some issues in terms of supply and demand, so I took it upon myself and said, let's get to work. In my workshop, which was at home at the time in a small garage, it wasn't very big at all. Frustrated, bitter, without knowing what to do, with all the debts and problems here and there. I saw a chair like the one you are sitting on. It had a leather lining, and then I saw a calabash gourd lying around, and I said to myself, why don't I make these Uruguayan style gourds on my own?
How did that go?
Well, I got up, grabbed the calabash gourd, dismantled the chair, and I started to assemble the gourd as best I knew how. There was no tutorial for lining a gourd with leather at that point. If you look it up, it does not exist. It's a secret amongst artisans. I found it to be easier than I expected. If the Uruguayans can, why can't I do it? And so I got back on my feet and found a new lease on life, saying, I'm gonna make better Uruguayan gourds than the Uruguayans. It seems a little big-headed, but what can I say? That was just my mindset at that point in time.
Well, you're here now, so you can't have gone that badly for you.
Yeah, when we started out, the first one I made was awful. Up there is one of the first ones I ever made if you want to show it to the camera. Go and get it to show them. Yeah, it's funny to see the difference.
I guess it's proof that nothing easy is ever worth it in life, right?
Look at that mess. It's tragic. That's probably like the third or fourth one I ever made. Well, that's how this all started. At that time, everyone was beginning to want this kind of gourd. Then it was a question of finalizing the small details, like sourcing the right calabash fruits, the right leather, etc., what type of thread, what kind of glue, and nobody knew anything about it. So I began to look into it and try to find a solution to all these problems.
And tell me, Fabi, how long have you been working with Ali for?
At that time, I was working at the market in the fruit port here in Buenos Aires. The small amount of gourds we would make would sell out almost immediately. From there, a few social media pages got in touch. And that's how I began to understand a little bit about how social media works and selling online. I had Instagram and Facebook for a short while. People often consulted me so as to buy from us. The time came when I could no longer afford to do it, and I had to make the decision to reduce my clientele and only sell to a very select group. We only sell to a handful of people. We don't sell to everyone because otherwise we would sell out straight away and everyone would be annoyed as we just couldn't produce enough gourds to satisfy their demands. And even now with this reduced number of buyers, it's really hard because the demand is increasing. These Uruguayan style gourds are so popular and we think we've perfected this product. We also made a stainless steel version.
So pretty innovative product, right?
And in terms of timing, it was perfect. Right as the pandemic began, when there weren't any Calabash fruits in stock. Before the pandemic, I had the idea to make a stainless steel gourd, the same shape as the Uruguayan ones. Of course, I didn't know what was going to happen next, that there was a pandemic on the way. And all stores closed. Calabash suppliers could not bring the fruits into the country because they are mostly grown in Brazil. So nobody had any Calabash fruit, and I began to make these stainless steel gourds. And so nobody had any choice but to buy from us, so we began to grow as a business and used our earnings to invest in machinery.
Yeah, everything is really professional.
All this was an overnight success. We haven't had to put in years and years of work. One morning, we just woke up and it all worked out.
No, that's amazing. Such a great story, you know. Tell me, Fabi, which kind of gourds do you prefer, steel ones or Calabash ones?
When someone asks which is the best kind of gourd, I have my own personal criteria, which has nothing to do with what I do for a job. I think the best gourd is the one that you like the most.
That's a really nice way of putting it.
The ones made of Calabash fruit are the real thing, the ones that the gauchos use. But a little old lady could come along and say, I don't like it. It makes my brew taste really bitter. And this lady has a small earthenware gourd or mug, and for her, it's by far the best one. Then Johnny comes along and says, nah, steel is the best because it allows you to taste the yerba without changing its flavor. That's why I don't like to get into the debate surrounding which kind of gourd is best. It's just the one you like the most. Because I assure you that my preference won't be yours.
Yeah. To each his own, yerba, etc. You know, I say the same thing all the time, definitely. Tell me, what about all the different steps, like, you know, the ones we followed today when we put together the rim of the steel imperial gourd? Could you tell me about, like, the, you know, the different process depending on, like, the different types of gourd you use, both in terms of, like, imperiales or also in terms of, like, the type of material you're using as well, whether it's Calabash fruit or stainless steel?
Well, look, first of all, what we see here inside is a dried Calabash fruit. We've got to look at the peeled Calabash fruit and try to determine which type of gourd it would be best for depending on its shape and size. If you have one that's a little wider, we use it to make a camionero. If it's a little smaller, we turn it into an imperial. You just have to make a call and judge it by eye. I do it all myself because it isn't easy. Sometimes it's hard to see which kind of gourd it would be best
Wow,
for.
I did not know that. That's crazy.
Out of every 1,000 dried Calabash fruits, around about 300 can be used to make imperial gourds. 200 are good for camionero style gourds, and the other 500 are good for nothing. We throw them away. They're useless. No one else is going to tell you that, but in general, that's just the way it is. When you buy the Calabash fruit, it's not like the provider can select them for you one by one. They just send what they have. We have to sift through and find the best ones. I think that way I always am able to offer the best product to my clients. And that's really important to me. The worst ones we make just lie around until we decide what to do with them. They might come out too big or aubergine shaped, or they might be all twisted. There's many shapes and sizes. And then, well, the leather we use is 3 millimeters thick. It's a pretty tough leather and is, of course, already tanned and worked. It's then cut to size, and glue is added, and it is stuck onto the gourd. And once the gourd is assembled, we start painting it, just like you did today. And then, last but not least, we check the size of the rim to see whether we should use a 90 millimeters.
Ah, so like there's different size rims.
Exactly. In general, the rims measure between 90 millimeters or 100. 105 is on the big side, and 110 is too much. 120, forget about it. At that point, you've got a saucepan. Then the rim is chiseled. The video we made showing how that's done. That video doesn't exist right now. Nobody is going to show you that.
For sure. I'm so grateful that you would show us that, because not even the craftsmen who were with us wanted to show us.
I let you record that video out of the love I have for this trade, so that craftsmen can see how to make a rim, because many of them buy the rim already assembled, and others do it in a very shoddy way, so it doesn't look good. And I showed you in that little video how to make a rim from stainless steel. Alpaca German silver is even easier to use.
Ah, really?
In general, you don't have to heat the metal as much as people think you do. You are meant to do it with cold metal.
Every sentence you say is like a class about mate gourds, you know? Could you tell us a bit about the process of how mates are made, you know, specifically talking about the premium steel gourds?
Well, as I told you, during the pandemic, the idea had already come to me to make a gourd with a stainless steel interior wrapped in leather. And we started selling them. And it was something new, meaning that at first, people did not accept it.
Wow. For real?
Yeah, people rejected it. Some customers didn't want to buy them at the time.
Wow, I can't believe that, because right now it's like one of the most trendy kind of gourds, you know what I mean? I feel like people are always asking about it.
For sure, now people get in touch with a store and ask for steel imperial gourds. It has even surpassed the popularity of the Calabash one, and I don't say that to show off. It's just the truth. My own customers say, Fabi, people ask me about the steel one, and they want yours because there are also many replicas. There are already several pages that have copied us, and so on. I won't call them out. It's just not worth it. Even though they're copying us is kind of an honor in a weird way, because it tells us that we're doing things the right way. People only imitate those who are doing things well, not those who are doing a poor job.
Definitely. I mean, it's also happened to me. For instance, this one time a guy downloaded a video off of my page and just re-uploaded it without telling me or asking permission. And I'll spend hours editing that. But at the same time, I said, you know, I've got to be doing something right for him to steal it.
Yeah, when someone doesn't copy what you do, be careful. It most likely means your product is no good and people don't like it. But if they copy you, it is because you're doing things the right way. Initially, it made me a little angry. I was about to contact certain pages to ask them why they did it, and so on. Then when I reflected on it, I realized I shouldn't do that. It's not worth it. I now view it as something to be proud of. With this mentality, I've reached a place where I'm able to say that. It is a great pride of mine that my products are worthy of imitation, and it means that we are doing well. But getting back to what I was saying, when we began making these steel gourds, lots of retailers didn't want them at first. People did not like the idea of modernizing tradition. Since there was nothing else, they had no choice but to accept it. There weren't any Calabash gourds being produced due to supply shortages. A few pages. I can say Batil's name in the video, right?
Yeah, for sure, 100%. Anything I don't want to put in, I'll just edit it out. But, you know, I want to show him some love because he's the one who brought me here and helped me make this video. So, you know.
Batil, for instance, he was one of the first people to help us out. Right from the start, he said to me, Fabi, we're going to make these steel imperial gourds work. We are in this together, and I am going to help you. Let's make this work. And thanks to those like him who gave us a helping hand, we managed to popularize them. There were others who didn't see the vision, which I fully understand. craftsman. It's a new product which goes against tradition, and people want to earn money. It's a business, and nobody goes into it wanting to lose money, so they have to be careful when taking such risks. But nonetheless, I've always been a real optimist. I always let people come along and have a look at the product before investing anything, and I even let them try the gourds out. If it doesn't work out, it wasn't meant to be, but I am a really positive guy. I know that everything I do is going to go well. In fact, we are now modifying these gourds. As you saw, the one we've given you is a new model we're making, and I love to always be looking for the next thing to innovate, looking forward to the future. We don't change anything. We simply adapt and evolve. I'm like a modern-day artisan, so to speak. I try and fuse tradition with current trends.
Go in, Ali, if you want. Your kindness, ever since I arrived, it's just been, you made me feel so at home, and your humility as well. Yeah, thank you so much. I mean, I respect you a lot, the way you think and the things you do, what you told me and what you explained to me. You're a really humble guy, and you can tell, you're doing things the right way, so it's really positive. It's an honor really to be able to collaborate with you. Could you kind of explain for those who don't know or understand what the difference is between Calabash fruit gourds and stainless steel ones? Does it add some kind of taste to your brew, for instance? Yeah, tell me.
For sure. Look, it was a really hard sell initially, as people thought all kinds of things, that steel would ruin the taste of your brew.
That steel would do that?
You get me, and we had to work to try and debunk that myth, because it's the complete opposite. Stainless steel ensures that the yerba maintains its original flavor, whereas Calabash changes its flavor.
That's what I thought too.
Calabash fruit gives your brew more of a country touch, so to speak. A bitterness, if you will. It gives it a more intense flavor, whereas steel doesn't add anything to it. You get me? It just allows the taste of the original yerba to shine through, as it is. Of course, someone else might say that's a load of rubbish, and that's okay, but this is just my opinion, and I think I'm pretty well versed when it comes to this custom, even though I don't actually drink that much yerba myself. Like, you won't see me drinking it all day long, maybe once every 2 or 3 days. And lots of people tell me, that's quite odd, you're a craftsman, but you don't drink yerba. I hope I made that clear. Stainless steel allows the yerba to keep its original flavor, whereas Calabash fruit changes the flavor and makes your brew a bit stronger. It enhances some flavors. Does that make sense? And glass does the same thing as stainless steel. It allows the yerba to remain in its original state. Ceramic mugs style gourds do the same thing. And what's more, stainless steel is great because you can enjoy yerba cold as well as hot.
I see that all the time. People buy Calabash gourds and they can't use them to drink tereré or cold mate. Only hot mate. So I guess, there's an upside of steel gourds for you, or every gourd has its pros and cons for sure.
Yeah, but someone from the countryside could come along and say, it's useless, I'd throw it in the trash, and that's fine. It's whatever. I'm not saying that these stainless steel gourds are the greatest thing to ever be produced. Everyone has their own preferences, from the yerba we use to the gourd we choose. There's different kinds of yerba. Some come flavored with other herbs and medicinal plants. Some drink it with stevia or sugar to sweeten the taste. Others hate that idea.
100%. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Well, thank you so much for everything. You explained everything so well today, Fabi. Thank you for inviting me. Once again, it's an absolute honor for me to be here. And yeah, I wish you all the best. So much success for your future.
For sure. And all the best to all the people who follow you online.
I hope this video has been interesting and informative. I hope you've enjoyed watching it. If you did, please drop a like, subscribe, leave a comment, whatever you want. I guess I'll see you next time. We'll be going to the northwest of Argentina, to Salta, in the Andes, where we'll be learning a little bit about certain herbs, medicinal herbs that have different properties that you can put into yerba mate to make it taste better, taste different, and which really have good properties for your health. So yeah, until next time.
No me digas.
Estoy grabando ya.
Ahora, para que hice un ritmo.
Dale, 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 dale.
A ver.